You're listening to an Airwave Media podcast.
What modern symbol used by social media users is known as an octothorpe? The answer to this question and more on this week's episode of Triviality Mini.
Recorded in Chicago, Illinois, with your hosts, Ken, Matt, Neal, and Jeff. This is Triviality.
Hello and welcome to Triviality Mini, a 10-question quiz to make you the cream of the crop at Trivia Night. My name is Neal, and I'll be in the host seat once again. As always, this quiz is brought to you by our amazing patrons who make all of our bonus content possible. If you'd like to help support our show and become the lifeblood that keeps us going, you can continue to support us at patreon.com/trivialitypodcast, where we release the same high-quality and dependable content every week. For as little as $1 a month, you get all of our main feed episodes, including these ones, ad-free. And for as little as $5 a month, or a cup of coffee at the conglomerate, you can get over 60 hours of bonus content, as well as weekly bonuses written by all of us. That also includes our monthly crop drop. Once again, that's patreon.com/trivialitypodcast. And now it's time for this week's questions. Number 1. The bibliography of what American-British author and journalist includes titles like A Short History of Nearly Everything, A Walk in the Woods, and In a Sunburned Country? Who is the author of these books? Number 2. Often referred to by his nickname CR7, what global sports star is the first and so far only soccer player to surpass 900 career goals? Again, what soccer star goes by CR7? Number 3. New Orleans has Bourbon Street. New York City has Broadway. But what other famous B Street calls Memphis, Tennessee home? What is the name of that famous street? Number 4. In 2000, what former Russian leader was controversially canonized as a saint for his humbleness, patience, and meekness after being killed by the Bolsheviks? Once again, who is this former Russian leader? Number 5. What 1980s rock band known for their glam metal music and live performances featuring flame-throwing guitars and drum roller coasters featured an original lineup including Vince Neil, Mick Mars, Nikki Sixx, and Tommy Lee? What band featured these members? Number 6. On January 6, 1994, what Olympic athlete was assaulted with a police baton by an assistant hired by the ex-husband of fellow athlete and rival Tonya Harding? Again, who was the victim of a coordinated attack on this date that became global news? Number 7. What four-letter word is shared by a crossover SUV manufactured by Ford and a typical motion used by a gym rat? What word is shared by these two things? Number 8. Cinemagoers were recently exposed to a film whose title contains what French phrase that refers to a form of psychosis in which two people share the same delusions? We are looking for the French phrase. Number 9. Hillerick and Bradsby Company, a woodworking shop established in 1855, is now a manufacturing company located in Kentucky, most famous for producing and commercializing what popular piece of sports equipment? What are Hillerick and Bradsby most known for? And number 10, what famous fashion designer's logo features the International Maritime Signal flag for the letter H that is usually flanked by a navy blue border? What fashion company uses this logo? Take some time to look over those questions, pause if you need to at home, and we'll be back with the answers after this short break.
You've heard the jingle bells, but have you heard the Babble bells? They're the bells you hear when you learn a new language with Babbel. And because talking is the key to really knowing a language, Babbel is designed for real conversation. Wasting hundreds on private tutors is the old way of learning techniques. At work, I have so many customers whose native language is Spanish, and it really affects my ability to connect with them. This holiday season, I can't wait to surprise them with the season's greetings in their native language. And it's all thanks to Babbel. With over 16 million subscriptions sold, Babbel's 14 award-winning language courses are backed by a 20-day money-back guarantee, so your gift to yourself or your loved one is risk-free. Here's a special holiday deal for our listeners. Right now, get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription, but only for our listeners at babbel.com/social hour. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/social hour, spelled BABBEL.com/social hour. Rules and restrictions may apply.
This is the sound of your ride home with Dad after he caught you vaping. Awkward, isn't it? Most vapes contain seriously addictive levels of nicotine and disappointment. Know the real cost of vapes. Brought to you by the FDA.
And we're back with the questions. Hopefully you got some of these answers, but let's find out. Number 1, the bibliography of what American British author includes books A Short History of Nearly Everything, A Walk in the Woods, and In a Sunburned Country? That would be author Bill Bryson. Highly recommend his books. Number 2, we were looking for the global soccer star who has surpassed 900 career goals and goes by the nickname CR7. If you answered Cristiano Ronaldo, you would be correct. Number 3, I said New Orleans has Bourbon Street, New York City has Broadway Street, but what B street does Memphis, Tennessee have? If you said Broadway, that would be Nashville, Tennessee, but the correct answer, Beale Street. Beale Street, B-E-A-L-E. Number 4, in 2000, a former Russian leader was canonized as a saint for humbleness, patience, and meekness after being killed by the Bolsheviks. That former Russian leader? Tsar Nicholas II. Number 5. What 1980s rock band featured an original lineup of Vince Neal, Mick Mars, Nikki Sixx, and Tommy Lee? Well, kickstart your heart because that was Motley Crue. Number 6. On January 6, 1994, what Olympic athlete was assaulted by a rival Olympic athlete named Tonya Harding? That would be Olympic figure skater Nancy Kerrigan. Number 7. What 4-letter word is shared by a crossover SUV from Ford and a typical motion you might use at the gym? That would be flex, the Ford Flex, or flexing your muscles. Number 8. Cinemagoers were recently exposed to a film whose subtitle contained a French phrase that refers to a form of psychosis in which two people share the same delusion. That would be Folie à Deux, which was the subtitle of the second Joker film starring Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga. But it seems Art the Clown from the Terrifier franchise is the more successful clown at the moment. Number 9. Hillerick and Bradsby Company, established in 1855, was a woodworking shop based in Kentucky, and they're most famous for producing and commercializing what popular piece of sports equipment? That would be the Louisville Slugger bats. And your last question, what famous fashion designer's logo features the International Maritime Signal flag for the letter H and is usually flanked by a navy blue border? That would be Tommy Hilfiger. Back to this week's opening question, what modern symbol used by social media users is known as an octothorpe? That would be the hashtag, and we appreciate if you hashtag our show on all of your social media or follow us at Triviality Pod. We hope you enjoyed playing along with today's quiz. We encourage you to rate and review the podcast in all your favorite podcast apps, which will help us get seen. And as I said, please follow us on social media at Triviality Pod. And like always, if you'd like to support the show so we can continue to do fun projects like this, please become a patron at patreon.com/trivialitypodcast. Help us get to our road of 1,000 patrons, so that way we can do this full time. That'll do it for this week's episode of Triviality Mini. Tune in next week for a brand new set of 10 questions in 10 minutes. See you next time.